I'm shaking because I'm so cold, but I thought the vibe of the video would be cooler out here than in my office. We did it. We completed the Austin Marathon today, 26.2 miles, and my legs really hurt. I didn't run with any music, and as I was running, it took 4 hours, so a lot of time to reflect. And I want to talk about how I want to be successful. I want to do more than other people. I want to achieve more. I want to have more. But I've realized I'm not working smart enough yet. But first, a joke. I decided to sign up for an ultra marathon in 100 days from now. And that is 60K, 37 miles, which is 11 miles further than the furthest I've ever gone, which was today, 26.2 miles. And I'm legitimately limping today. So we have a lot of work to do. And this topic is especially relevant that I need to train smarter, not just simply harder. As I was running this race, there's 23,000 people running. And I was like, why am I doing a marathon? Am I doing it because my own internal scorecard, it's going to bring me satisfaction? Is it something I feel like I'm supposed to do? Is it something I'm trying to do to get attention or validation externally from other people? And this morning, I wasn't even really excited. I was standing there and they were playing the national anthem, which did get me fired up. I was excited about that. But then I'm standing there, I'm freezing, and I'm thinking, I'm not even really excited to be doing this race. I signed up for it 100 days ago-ish, and I think the reason why I did it was just the sake of doing it and the challenge. And I accomplished it. I achieved the result. But as I think about what led to this point, it was all the work of dozens and dozens of yoga classes, dozens and dozens of miles prepping, sleep, stretching, nutrition, hydration. All of that led to this result today, which is running the marathon in 4 hours. My body's in absolute shambles. And I wasn't prepared. I really was not prepared. Last night, my sister was in town. We tried to get pizza, of course, which would have prepared me, but couldn't get into the restaurant, so we ended up eating fried chicken and fries, which was just a joke. I did not run really at all the last month because I justified in my head, well, if I overtrain, then I'm really screwed. And I just didn't take it serious. I did not plan ahead of time. I didn't plan, how am I going to hydrate? How am I going to perform at my peak state? I was just going through the motions, and that's what really frustrated me when I was running. And towards the last few miles, I couldn't even straighten my legs, so I was going very, very slow. People are tracking me, and they're like, we thought you passed out because you had an 11-minute mile. And yes, it was very, very rough. But I was frustrated with myself during it because I thought, this is not me maxing out my potential. And I'm seeing all these other people going by me, and I'm like, I got to be better. And then you can extrapolate that out, because how you do anything is how you do everything. And you say, well, at work, especially in a corporate sales role, it's very competitive internally and externally. You want to outperform your quota. You want to outperform your peers, because that's very challenging to do and admirable to be one of the top producing reps. And then you think, I set my daily targets of prospecting, finding prospects, sending emails, making calls, running these sales cycles to the best of my abilities. And then sometimes I find myself showing up to these important calls having not really prepped. I'm just going through the motions. I'm just showing up, and I've always been a game time player. The lights come on and I always deliver. And today was no exception. Did not really train. I ran the marathon, and I think that's something to celebrate. And I've managed to be successful to this point, complete the marathon, no training. Still don't feel like I did good enough, and maybe that's just how I'm wired. I made $395,000 last year and still don't feel like I've really achieved anything, and I'm not satisfied with it. So I think if anything, the lesson from this is just being your own biggest fan. I finished the marathon. My sister's like, oh, nice job. How do you feel? I'm like, I'm disappointed with myself. I don't deserve the t-shirt. We don't need to take any pictures. Let's just go. I started the race apathetic, and then I ended the race pissed off because I was like, I did not show up in my best self. And I realized that's kind of a negative spin on it, whereas I could have looked at it and said, well, I was able to do a marathon without training. That's kind of good. And then the income thing, you're like, well, relative to most, that's good, but what is your benchmark? Are you just trying to be average, or are you really trying to be exceptional? So as I think about actionable steps that I'm taking, one, I need to be much more intentional and definitive and bold in my planning, not just writing down the goals, because I have the goals written down, the 26-mile race, 37-mile race, and then I do have my sights set on a 50-mile race. I've realized this camera's really shaking, so hopefully that's not an issue. And I have my sights set on a 50-mile race in November in Austin. So if that sparks your curiosity at all, message me on LinkedIn, because I have not signed up yet, but I think it would be cool to know at least a handful of people, because it's not a sanctioned race. It's a very grassroots thing. I've set my targets, but now is the part that I need to be better at, and it's planning. It is being more deliberate with what specific actions do I need to take every day between now and then to make sure I'm able to actually complete the race and don't just back out. So the other lesson takeaway is how can you be deserving of whatever it is you're trying to achieve, whether it's a fitness goal, like what I'm primarily talking about, a career goal, a finance goal, a relationship goal, a spiritual goal, a personal goal, a health goal. How can you be deserving of that outcome? And how can you define what that outcome looks like? And I'm trying to set my goals in a way that if I'm able to achieve them, it makes me an outlier. I'm trying to deliver outlier results, not to gain external validation or as a status symbol, but it really is intrinsically motivated internal scorecard. I feel better about myself whenever I'm achieving big things, whenever I feel like I'm growing, developing, maximizing my potential. So today during the race, I was around some guys that were talking about these uplifting ideas, and it really motivated me, because they were saying, yeah, this is a privilege to get to suffer. I am grateful for the opportunity to be in pain and be doing this right now. And I really love this was also mile 17, about 3 goos in for me. And I really like that, the way they were framing these challenges. And there's so much just intrinsic purpose and satisfaction and joy and pleasure and worthwhileness just in pursuit of the goals, not always what you achieve and get from it, but it's also who you become, because who you become from doing these hard things is something that can't be taken, and that is intrinsically worthwhile in and of itself, that pursuit. I believe so. I think that's a fundamental truth. So I'm trying not to be too hard on myself, but I'm also recognizing the point of this video is I'm able to work hard. I think that's a prerequisite. Put in the hours to do the running, to do the cold calling, to do the journaling during the work week, whatever. Put in the hours, of course, because you need to build a baseline. But the smart, where that comes into play, is how do you do it more efficiently? How do you do it more effectively? Because if I'm working 100 hours a week and delivering, let's say 100% of quota, you're working 50 hours a week and you're delivering 150% of quota, you're working less and achieving more. How are you doing that? It's because you're working smarter, you have greater leverage. So it makes me think, not just preparing for these physical endurance races, but in my professional goals, in my personal goals, how can I set a big, bold target that gets me excited? How can I work hard in pursuit of it? But how can I also work smarter and more efficient? And if you're going eating fried chicken and fries the night before a marathon and you haven't really done any prep, you're not in the right headspace going into it, that's not the way to do it. That's not working smart. And that's why I think I was disappointed, because I was out there amongst other driven people that did work smarter than I did and therefore delivered a better result than I did. But also recognizing that everyone's running their own race, because I was, the first half I was thinking, okay, I'm next to some people they're running a half marathon. So no wonder why they're pushing it so hard. I'm going the full marathon. Things don't get exciting until mile 15. So you're running your own race. It's not in comparison to other people. We're running our own race. So nothing anyone else is doing really matters. But in order to be more successful, in order to outperform, there is a bell curve of distributions, of outlier positive and outlier negative. So where do you want to be on that distribution curve? And I want to be on the absolute pinnacle, top percentile. That's what this channel is about. That's what I'm about. That's what's on my mind. Nonetheless, we did it. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to hit the thumbs up button now, because it really helps the channel and your support fires me up. Let me know down in the comments what one big goal you have that you have already committed to or you're thinking about. I think having the public accountability and actually writing it down or typing it out, if you haven't already done that, that's a big opportunity. Let's work smarter and let's work harder, and let's achieve something great this week. See you guys. Signing off. Bye.